The swap was not expected as for months. U.S. officials expressed their desire to bring home both Greiner and Whelan. Joining us now is terrorism analyst and Nepal history professor Tom Makaitis. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning.
What can you tell us about Victor Bout and his connections to terrorism? And while we're all happy that Greiner is home, does this somehow make America less safe?
Doesn't make America less safe. At the end of the Cold War, the former Soviet Union lost control of a significant part of its arsenal, and he was in a position to become an international arms dealer, and most infamously providing weapons to the FARC in Colombia, which may have endangered U.S. advisors. He was arrested, tried and convicted in 2011, sentenced to 11 years in prison, or 25 years in prison. And the Russians have wanted him back. The timing is very interesting. Putin has framed this war as a struggle between Russia and the West. And of course, it's not going very well. The president of Ukraine has just been named Times Man of the Year. So to some degree, this is a publicity stunt. These kinds of exchanges have gone on for a long time. But I don't expect we will hear any more from Bout. I would imagine his businesses in the 11 years he's been locked up have been pretty well dismantled. They're certainly very limited, and there are other people to be more worried about.
Let's talk about Paul Whelan, who was not released. President Biden saying Russia is treating his case differently. Why is that?
Well, these people are all. This is really a return to the Cold War brinkmanship that prevailed for almost half a century, where what they do is make use of these individuals as pawns, as chips, in an international bargaining game. And Putin felt he had a pretty strong hand because there was pressure for Greiner. He didn't need to sweeten the pot by throwing Whelan in. So I don't know that there's any huge difference, although they did accuse him of espionage, which would be more serious. The U.S. has claimed both the charge against him and Greiner were certainly, if not trumped up, greatly exaggerated. Certainly his were trumped up. But I think basically Putin is just going to see what else he can get out of this.
Let's turn to another big terrorism story, domestic terrorism in Germany, that looks a little bit about like what's happened here in the United States.
Yeah, I don't think this was quite as much surprise in Germany as in the U.S., but it's deeply troubling. The far right in Germany, this group, the Reichsbürger, are very similar in some respects to the Oath Keepers in that they've infiltrated the military, police, and so on. And they have their roots to a significant degree in the old East Germany, which was never really denazified at the end of World War II. And they had concocted this plot. What is very encouraging, of course, is German intelligence was all over it, and they apprehended these people fairly quickly. But it's troubling. I mean, some of these one was special forces. Apparently a judge was involved. They're being very tight-lipped about it. But, estimates of 21,000 people subscribing to this group, 5% of whom are were considered dangerously extreme, is troublesome, just as we saw recently with the conviction of Elmer Stewart Rhodes, the founder of the Oath Keepers.
All right, Tom Makaitis, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tom.
Happy to do it. Have a nice day.
It is 8:06.